We hit the Midwest a lot earlier than I typically do. We had a huge cold front while we were in Illinois. For some reason, it still didn't do what I thought it would do to those deer. These farms aren't managed farms for deer. These are farms that we got permission to hunt on or that we lease, but we live so far away from them that we're not doing food plots. We're just hunting these deer for who they are and where they're at. There's nothing really special gonna make these deer do anything different. You just really have to figure out where they're at. What I figured about some deer in this one area of Illinois, they just don't like to move much until certain factors. Whether it's the rut or key moon phases, they will move. We were struggling in Illinois. We headed to my buddy Travis Lehman's in Kansas. Now Travis and I, we had been sharing some camera pictures and we would kind of communicate over the phone. We'd figure out where we wanted these cameras, and I don't think it makes you less of a deer hunter if you got somebody helping you do some homework, because you really only have a limited amount of time when you go out of state. We all live a different life. It's one thing if it's your home state. There's still things you can do in your arsenal even if you're hunting with an outfitter and you don't have much control of where you're sitting, that's going to up your chances, such as the illusion phase system or the call system. That's what the whole deer society and illusion system is about, is trying to teach you to become a better deer hunter. The homework was done as far as knowing what deer existed. Where are we going to hunt? Where are we going to hang stands? How do we think we're going to get on this deer? I love that chess game. I love trying to run those trail cameras and figure out what these deer are doing once I get there and get in their roundhouse. It's October 18th when we first get there, so it's kind of that October lull, but the pre-rut is right there. Any day you know that light switch could happen and something could change. So we just had to keep upbeat. Again, watch our access, our exit routes. Cameras were saying those bucks were still there. The deer that we were after, especially the one we named Evander, he's got some unique features. He's got a broken ear, he's got super tall tines. I mean, the second you see him, there's no mistake in what deer it is, and there's no mistake in whether he's a shooter or not. Evander's attitude, his body size, and his age put him in that class of any trophy buck that anybody would be happy to shoot. We kind of just figured out that we needed to have a strategy of where we thought he was bedding and try to get to an area where we thought he was going to be working some scrapes. The farmer's seen deer over here in the evenings come out certain spots. Travis had seen a bunch of deer in one spot picking beans one night. At that point we kind of knew, okay, these deer are spending a little more time on a certain part of this farm than the other. That's when we started making our moves. We started hanging these stands in different strategic spots between a creek bottom and on the edge of a cedar thicket and a creek bottom, two different stand locations that we felt would be key. We hunted the creek bottom, finally had an encounter with a really good deer, but he was on the edge. He had a doe up there and he just did not want to come down into that creek bottom. I don't know what his deal was, but he just wouldn't commit and come down into the creek to us. Seeing one in daylight at that time of day, because it was like a good 40 minutes before dark, that kind of had us pumped up. We finally got the chance to hunt this cedar tree on the edge of Evander's bedding area. There was a lot of scrapes along this edge where I'd found scouting one day, and I told Tanner, I was like, this is where we need to be. I said, I think we're gonna catch him on the back side of this creek. I think he feels more comfortable back in here. He's kind of secluded. I said, it's gonna be a little tougher for us to get in here, but I'm gonna slide in here in the middle of the day, hang a stand, and I think we're gonna be right on him. Well, the first night we hunted that stand, and wouldn't you know it, 30 minutes before dark, Evander walks right up out of the bedding area and just rips this scrape apart about 75 yards away. He's in that mood. I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, he's in a good mood. Maybe I'll be able to call to him. Maybe I'll be able to challenge him, anything. Maybe I can get him to walk over here. Seeing the video that I gave him some calls, as you can see, it's never foolproof. I mean, it's never a guarantee that you call to a deer that he's gonna come running to you. He just had something in his mind where he wanted to go. I don't know if he could smell a doe somewhere. I'm not sure, but there was nothing we could do to change that deer's mind to come to us, but he was not spooked at all. It wasn't like he winded us. It wasn't like we spooked him calling. You can just tell by his body actions. He just wasn't into it. He was going the other direction. With the way the wind was, there was nothing we could do about it. We just decided, you know what? Again, I've talked about this many times. Don't push them. He's there, we know he's there. We just gained another piece of the puzzle by watching what he just did, and I knew I was in the right spot. And I told Tanner, I said, this is gonna be the spot that will kill this deer. It's just gotta be the right time. I felt like a decoy would be a really good situation here because the way the opening was, if Evander had happened to step out at this end of the bedding area and come into that CRP opening, he could look through that opening of the tractor trail and see the decoy up here. I try to position my decoys to where that deer, he's gonna try to circle downwind of it. By the time he's already getting downwind of that decoy, I've got a shot. And he's dead before he can really react to the point of, oh my gosh, this is fake and I gotta get out of here. We actually had some does come off that cut bean field, okay? They were upwind, but this was a family group of does. I'm talking like 8, 9 does together with little ones. And they came into that opening and they absolutely freaked out on this decoy. Even with all that commotion and they were blowing a little bit, that could really discourage a person fast, and you could be like, man, and it was driving me crazy. I mean, I was getting frustrated thinking, man, this is blown. But I told myself, just sit here. If Evander's around here, he doesn't know what they're blowing out. It could be a coyote, could be a bobcat, could be anything. They don't know. Don't let your mind play games on you, because even though these does were out there blowing around for a little bit and making more noise than any hunter would really like, they finally left. Within about 30 minutes of them leaving, I could hear something walking to my right, and sure enough, I could see his rack coming right down the edge of the cedars, coming to these scrapes. He had no clue in the world that we were there. Our access to the stand was perfect. We were using a ditch, totally trying to avoid the deer trails. I could tell by the way he was coming down that edge and gonna come through that little gap that I was talking about, he was headed right to one of his main primary scrapes. That was gonna be the last scrape he was gonna hit that morning, and he was gonna go in that creek bottom probably 50, 60 yards and lay down and go to sleep. But we just happened to put him to sleep a little bit earlier. Yes, yes, baby. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't believe it. That is Evander, Tanner. You know, looking back on this hunt, some of the keys to success, to me, cover is way more important than height. This was a cedar tree. We were only probably 12 feet off the ground in this cedar tree. Having the background cover to hide 2 guys in a tree compared to being 30 feet in the air and sticking out like a bump on a log, to me, is way more important. The other is access, getting in and out of these spots to get to these stands without alerting the deer that they're being hunted. Oh, Evander. Oh my gosh. Oh. Look at that dude. A big old sweeping beam buck. Just a gorgeous buck to kill in October with a bow. Just wonderful. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but again, scent control. Every time I sit down in that stand, I'm getting that foam out. We've showered, we've done everything already with the first parts of the phase system, but once you use that foam and you cool yourself down a little bit, get your skin covered, I always take my hat and I'll spray it on the brim of my hat in here, because we all know that that's where we sweat. That's kind of what that band is for, in there to collect that sweat off your head. Feel that foam just gets in there and just helps wipe it down and gets it eliminated and really reduces my scent control. That's just one little tip that I like to do that I think might help somebody that's not thinking about that. I mean, what a hunt this has been. It's just been a crazy hunt. Just a big old giant buck. Thanks for the chase, bud. It was real worth it.